there's something valuable about this place. Imagine he's arguing with the Prophet of Allah. But I'm coming to the point that he had all this wealth, but he would not hesitate to give it up for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the difference between us. When you're grateful and you have that attitude, you're not willing to give your sleep at night to make the qiyam. You're not willing to give up your food to fast to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're not willing to give a few minutes here and there for the salah, to be with your brothers and sisters and helping and doing this and that. The man said, Arba'een, give me 40 pounds of gold and you can take it. And Dawood alayhi salam said, that's the final agreement. The man said yes. And he gave it to him. And the man then looked at Dawood and said, Dawood, if I asked for more, would you have done it? And Dawood said, Wallah, by the name of Allah. He made an oath by Allah. He said, لو سألت ملك داود كله, if you asked for the entire kingdom of Dawood alayhi salam, I would have given it to you, because that was the command of Allah, to build the masjid here. You see the iman that he had? لو سألت ملك داود لأعطيتك إياه. If you asked the entire kingdom of Dawood, I would have said taken it. And so yes, there were the times that he was very simple in his means, and there were the times that he lived the luxury, but the most beautiful thing is it was a blessing from Allah. And from day one, I guess there's a question, if there isn't questions, we might go back to what made him a prophet in a moment. But I think one of the sisters, I hope, you answered that. No.
I would like to share one idea I had.
Yes.
To have online.
La jazakallah khair. I think the sister said it very, very eloquently and in a very good fashion. And hopefully, inshallah, maybe next week or the next few weeks, we're going to talk about sabr specifically and give some examples of sabr, and it's going to cover a lot of that area. But I think the sister said it in a very nice way, describing that when we have hardships in our lives, it's for a number of reasons. I'm just summarizing what she said. One of them is could be that we are doing something that is wrong, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reattaching us or reminding us to go back to Him. And sometimes that even though we're doing something right, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is elevating us to a higher level. So she's giving the different examples of the reasons for different temptations and different tests, which is very true. And it goes both ways. It goes with the blessings that we have, and it goes by the hardships that we have. Even the blessings that we have, sometimes when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us what we think is a blessing, it's a test, it could be ibtila, or it could be in'am. What is the difference? A lot of the scholars say the difference, only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. Even when you have something you think it's good, it could be a test, or it could be an imla. وَأُمْلِي لَهُمْ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sometimes gives a lot of the people that reject His faith so much. Musa alayhi salam has so much little. Pharaoh, he had all this majesty and whatever and so on. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kept giving him even more. So they say that it depends. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one that knows, but it depends on your deeds. You look at yourself. If you're doing good and you're close to Allah and you keep getting closer to Allah and the blessings are more, then it's a ni'mah from Allah, it's a blessing from Allah. But if you were doing good and now you're disobeying Allah and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving you more, you need to hit the brakes very quickly. You need to stop. It means that this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving you a very big test. So you need to stop and retreat and go back to the path of Allah. The other one that you said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes it in the Quran in a very beautiful verse. And all of the Quran is beautiful. And Allah describes it in so many places. What does He say? وَلَئِنْ أَذَقْنَا الْإِنسَانِ. Allah says, وَلَئِنْ أَذَقْنَا الْإِنسَانِ. Allah says about punishment, He says, when, notice the words, أَذَقْنَا. Is that future or past tense? وَلَئِنْ أَذَقْنَا.
Past.
وَلَئِنْ أَذَقْنَا. Something that might happen or happened already.
Might happen.
In the future. Allah says in the future. Listen to the tense very carefully. Allah says in the future. He didn't say if I punish you, or if I give you a hardship or a temptation or whatever. Allah says وَلَئِنْ أَذَقْنَا. What does أَذَقْنَا mean? Huh?
Taste.
Just a little bit of taste of hardship. Not even a hardship. Trust me, none of us has seen the hardship or the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, a little bit of taste. وَلَئِنْ أَذَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ. If they taste. Number one, if, low, إِذَا. If. Then number two, He says, taste. Number 3, in the future. أذقنا, يعني in the future. If, يعني you might be tested with a little bit of taste of hardship. And another verse it says, وَإِذَا رَكِبُوا فِي الْفُلْكِ. In another verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes us as what? As people, mankind, when we ride in the ship, مَوْجٌ كَالظُّلَلْ, and then the waves come and the hurricane comes and everything in the boat is just shaking and moving and whatever. What do they say? What do we say? إِن نَجَّيْتَنَا مِنْ هَذِهِ لَنَكُونَنَّ. Allah says what? At that moment, what does the son of Adam do? What do? We say, Allah, if you rescue us from this and you rescue us from that, لَنَكُونَنَّ مِنْ, we will be the best worshippers and we'll be sincere and we'll always do this and we'll always do that. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says something, and I want you to look at the tense very carefully. فَلَمَّا. فَلَمَّا is future or past tense?
Past tense.
فَلَمَّا. Past tense. Everybody agree past tense? Why? Why is it past tense? وَإِذَا رَكِبُوا فِي الْفُلْكِ وَإِذَا أَذَقْنَا الْإِنسَانِ وَإِذَا. But then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَلَمَّا كَشَفْنَا عَنْهُ ضُرَّهُ. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is promising you that each and every single time that you are tested, you pray to Him, He would have rescued you. He will rescue you. But He wants you to be what? To be straight. You will be tested. You might be tested. But you know what? When you pray to Allah to rescue you, He will always rescue you. فَلَمَّا نَجَّاهُمْ. Past tense. فَلَمَّا نَجَّاهُمْ. He will always rescue you. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to what? As we say, straight up our act. Clean up our act a little bit. Be grateful to Him at all times. And the sister have said it very nice. That sometimes we're on the wrong path and we're this and that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests us so that what? We're back, refocused in the straight path. And know that it's a blessing. Know that this world. And that is why the Prophet ﷺ says, لو أن الدنيا تسوى عند الله جناح بعوضة. All of this world, sometimes we get so fascinated by materialistic world. The Prophet ﷺ said, لو أن الدنيا, all of this world with its materialistics and wealth and riches and whatever, if it was worth one wing to a fly, even a fly doesn't need one, it needs 2 wings just to fly. With 1 wing it can't do nothing. It needs both of them. The Prophet ﷺ is saying, if all of this dunya, all of this world was worth 1 wing of a fly to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, مَا سَقَى مِنْهَا كَافِرْ شَرْبَةَ مَاءٍ. He wouldn't have given an ungrateful person that rejects Him even a sip of water. This dunya is just a test. This dunya is just a test. We have to understand that and live that. But in the akhirah, in the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, no, when they ask for the water, they're praying to Malik, Khazin al-Nar, give us a sip of water. What does he say? إِنَّ اللَّهَ حَرَّمَهُمَا عَلَىٰ الْكَافِرِينَ تِلْكَ الدَّارُ الْآخِرَةِ. In the day of judgment, it's worth something to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The reward is worth something to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Justice takes effect there. So my brothers and sisters, let us not get too consumed. And like the sister said, once the sign comes, let us return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And let us always be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because the promise that we started with, we end with. وَلَئِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ وَلَئِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. Remember the story of the man, no matter what happens, inshallah. Inshallah what? Oh, you guys forgot it already, inshallah? Inshallah. It's for a reason, it's for a good reason, inshallah. Any other?
في حاجة أمة الإسلام أمة سيدنا محمد لها صفة اللي هي الحمد.
The brother was describing that انت كده هتحرجني معانا 3 غير مسلمين يعني. لا الحمد لله الحقيقة. The brother was describing that in the scriptures before, that there was descriptions, and he indicated some of the older scriptures in which a man unto Moses was described, and there were certain descriptions of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and his ummah and his nation, and that they're always glorifying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he quoted some of the older scriptures. Actually, one thing that a lot of us don't even realize, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ has 2 names. What are they? Ahmad comes from Hamd. And Muhammad is someone that is glorified in his glorification.